China is often in the headlines for accusations of copying SpaceX's rocket designs or struggling to keep up in the global space race. But this time, they've done something truly remarkable. An achievement so significant that even SpaceX's team might have raised their eyebrows. In this video, we're diving into China's groundbreaking launch of the Long March 12 rocket. But before we delve any deeper into the details of how this launch has shaken up the space community, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Stay tuned for all the latest updates on SpaceX's Starship, their revolutionary missions, and other groundbreaking achievements in the space industry. Now, let's get started. On November 30th, 2024, China launched the Long March 12 rocket from the Hainan commercial space launch site. This marked a big step for China's space industry because it was the first mission from the country's first commercial spaceport. The rocket successfully placed 2 experimental satellites into orbit, showing China's growing capability to handle complex space missions. The Long March 12 is not just another rocket. Compared to SpaceX's Starship, which is built to eventually take people to Mars, the Long March 12 is designed for different tasks like launching satellites into low Earth orbit. While Starship is a fully reusable rocket meant to revolutionize space travel by bringing down costs, the Long March 12 focuses on carrying heavy payloads quickly and efficiently, even though it isn't reusable yet. The Long March 12 is more comparable to rockets like Falcon 9, but with its own unique features. The Long March 12 stands 62 meters tall, which is shorter than Starship's towering 120 meters, but its payload capacity is impressive. It can carry at least 10 tons to low Earth orbit and 6 tons to Sun-synchronous orbit. That's quite a feat, though it's still far from the Falcon Heavy, which can take up to 64 tons to low Earth orbit. However, the Long March 12 is not built for the same purposes. A significant design choice for the Long March 12 is that it doesn't use boosters, unlike many rockets of its size. It relies entirely on its single-core structure, which reduces complexity and costs. But this simplicity comes with challenges. For instance, a boosterless rocket like this can wobble during its flight, making it harder to control. Engineers tackled this by creating a sleeker, more stable design. By comparison, Starship uses multiple engines and a massive booster stage called Super Heavy to generate the thrust needed for its missions. The engines on the Long March 12 are also worth mentioning. It uses liquid oxygen and kerosene as propellants, much like the engines on Falcon 9. These are cheaper and more environmentally friendly than older fuels like hydrazine. The first stage has 4 engines that generate enough thrust to lift the rocket and its heavy payload. While these engines are powerful, they're no match for Starship's Raptor engines, which are designed to produce massive thrust and handle the challenges of deep space missions. One of the standout features of the Long March 12 is its customizable payload fairings. The fairing is the protective cover that shields the satellites during the rocket's journey through the atmosphere. The Long March 12 offers 2 sizes, 4.2 meters and 5.2 meters in diameter. This flexibility allows it to carry different types of payloads. For example, the larger fairing can hold multiple satellites stacked together, making it ideal for launching satellite constellations. SpaceX does something similar with its Falcon 9, which frequently carries batches of Starlink satellites. Unlike SpaceX, which focuses heavily on reusable rockets to cut costs, China's Long March 12 is about rapid deployment of satellites at a lower cost. This makes it an important tool for building satellite constellations, which are becoming a big part of the space industry. Projects like Starlink from SpaceX or OneWeb from other companies require frequent launches to place hundreds, even thousands, of satellites into orbit. The Long March 12 is China's answer to this demand. While it doesn't have the reusable technology of Falcon 9 or Starship, it compensates with simpler and faster operations. China has made its ambitions in space crystal clear. They plan to catch up to SpaceX and do so very soon. Their space program has been moving at an insane pace. But with this rapid development has come a string of incidents, some of them tragic, and others outright catastrophic. In April 2023, a Long March 6A rocket encountered a malfunction shortly after liftoff, resulting in the loss of a commercial satellite payload. This was followed by another setback in July 2024 when a Jialong 3 rocket, a new commercial model, failed during its second launch due to a propulsion issue, destroying the satellite it was carrying. But perhaps the most dramatic failure in recent memory was China's attempt at landing a reusable rocket similar to SpaceX's Falcon 9. In October 2024, a test of their reusable rocket ended in disaster. The rocket, designed to mimic Falcon 9's vertical landing capability, exploded on the landing pad after what initially seemed like a smooth descent. The failure was attributed to a last-second issue with its landing legs, which buckled under the weight of the rocket. China plans to become the undisputed leader in space exploration by 2030. One of their most talked-about plans is the colonization of the moon. China envisions establishing a permanent lunar base by the early 2030s. But it doesn't stop there. China also aims to dominate the low Earth orbit economy, a sector currently led by SpaceX with its Starlink constellation. By 2030, China plans to deploy its own mega constellation of satellites, which will provide global internet coverage and rival SpaceX's Starlink in both scale and functionality. In terms of Mars exploration, China is advancing rapidly as well. Following the success of their Tianwen-1 mission, which landed the Zhurong rover on Mars in 2021, they've announced plans for a Mars sample return mission by 2028. They're also exploring the possibility of sending crewed missions to Mars in the next 2 decades. Many experts believe China will not be able to overtake SpaceX because SpaceX's speed of progress is faster than China can ever copy. If we look at their Falcon 9 rocket, we can understand this easily. SpaceX started developing the Falcon 9 in 2005, and it made its first successful launch in 2010. The progress since then has been remarkable. In 2022, SpaceX completed 61 successful Falcon 9 launches. In 2023, they further increased this number to 72 launches. By mid-2024, they are on track to surpass their previous year's record, with projections indicating over 80 launches by the end of the year. In contrast, China's space program, while growing, has not matched SpaceX's pace. For instance, China's Long March rocket series, their primary launch vehicle, completed 55 launches in 2022. In 2023, they managed 62 launches. While these numbers are impressive, they are still not on par with SpaceX's launch frequency and the rate of increase. While SpaceX is representing the United States and making history with its progress, Boeing, a much older and larger company, is facing significant problems with returning astronauts from the International Space Station. The Boeing Starliner has been dealing with multiple technical issues that have delayed the return of astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams. The problems began with helium leaks in the spacecraft's thruster system, which were identified both before and after the launch. These leaks affected the spacecraft's ability to properly maneuver, which is critical for a safe re-entry to Earth. Initially scheduled to return on June 13th, the astronauts' stay on the International Space Station has been extended multiple times due to these ongoing issues. The earliest possible return date has now been pushed to late July or even August. Engineers are conducting extensive tests on the thrusters and other systems to ensure that the spacecraft can return safely. Despite some repairs being made while the Starliner is docked at the International Space Station, concerns remain about the thruster reliability during the crucial re-entry phase. The problems with the Starliner are not new. The first uncrewed test flight in December 2019 failed to reach the International Space Station due to software issues that placed it in the wrong orbit. Boeing spent several years addressing dozens of identified issues before a second uncrewed flight in May 2022 successfully docked with the International Space Station. However, even this mission faced propulsion problems on the way to the International Space Station. In addition to the helium leaks, the current mission has encountered issues such as parachute system failures and the discovery of flammable tape within the capsule, requiring extensive modifications and fixes. Recent discussions have brought up the idea that SpaceX's Dragon capsule might be used to bring astronauts back from the International Space Station. While there are no current plans to use Dragon for this purpose, NASA has asked SpaceX about the possibility. Meanwhile, NASA and Boeing are conducting tests and analyses to fix the thruster issues. They hope to return the astronauts by the end of July if all problems are resolved. And that's all for today's update. If you enjoyed watching and found it useful, please make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.